Hi everybody, I'm Justin from Main Man Bassing. In this video, I'm going to go over some of the basic settings to hopefully get you configured so you can find your way around the Garmin Striker Plus 4CV and start putting bass in the boat efficiently. If you're new to the channel, I do product reviews, fishing adventures, and how-to videos that all revolve around bass fishing in the Northeast. I'd love to have you as a sub, so hit that subscribe button. Also, if you don't already have one of these and you're thinking about picking them up, I'll leave Amazon links in the description box. You can click it and take it from there. I will also put on cards up here somewhere, this way. I did an on the water review, so if you want to see how I use it to catch bass and what it looks like on the water, you can just click that card or check the link in the description box. The Garmin Striker Plus 4CV, I really like it. It's a small unit. It's probably optimal for a kayak, but I had it on my tin boat. It worked just fine, and I was really happy. You know, I mean, it's got great imaging. I think the settings, it's got Sonar, down scan, and you can make custom contour maps, but you can't upload or download charts onto it. But anyways, I think it's a great unit. It's a great little unit, and I'm going to switch camera angles and we'll go over some of the settings. Basic settings of, I'm not going over every little detail, but I'll show you how you can get it set up so it's working optimally. All right. I've powered up the Garmin. I've opened up the home screen. Here you have traditional, which is your sonar, ClearVu, which is your down scan. You have your flasher, which is for ice fishing usually. Split frequencies I never use. You have a screen where you can have your sonar and your down scan side by side or above each other, your contour maps, and you can put your maps and your sonar on one screen, which I think is probably best for kayaking, although I don't kayak. And you have a settings page, which is, I don't think there's anything we really need to go over in that. That's helpful for fishing, for catching bass. But we'll start with your sonar, your traditional. We're going to open it up. We're going to go to the menu. You have your range, which is going to be your depth. You can go down to select auto range, or you can adjust it to how you want. For the most part, I just leave it on auto range, but sometimes it's nice to see the ground. You can see the composition of the ground. Is it hard or is it soft? Is it pinging back sound, or is it mostly blank and white down here, meaning it's going to be a softer ground? But again, for the most part, just leave that on auto. We're going to go back. We'll go back to our gain. Gain is basically your color contrast. Too much, your screen gets cluttered. Too little, there's not enough definition. I will usually just enable auto gain, and you can leave it on auto high or auto medium. I usually just leave it on auto medium. That's really up to you, but I think if you don't have enough definition, it can be hard to see bass, especially smallmouth. Oops, let's go back. Your frequency and your beam width are the meat and potatoes of the sonar. I mean, this is basically what gives you your imaging. So your frequency, you have chirp, 150 kilohertz, 200, and 240 kilohertz. The stronger the kilohertz, the more narrow your cone angle is going to be of your transducer. So it's going to be less surface area and volume that your sonar, that your transducer picks up and displays as images. Excuse me. The less the frequency, the wider your cone angle will be, and it will pick up more volume and surface area. It'll read more images from the volume and surface area. Usually the way I run it is you want a smaller frequency for shallow water, so you can cover more ground. And if you're in deeper water, you can have a stronger frequency, because if you're at like 40, 50 feet, your cone, the coverage of your cone angle will be significant at that depth. And then chirp is somewhere around 200 kilohertz. We'll select chirp. We'll go to our beam width, and here you can adjust it on the top. Right now, chirp is at 19 degrees, which is 186 kilohertz on this unit. But you can see here, the smaller the cone angle degree, the more powerful the frequency. And that is, in my opinion, better for deeper water. You probably want a stronger frequency to get down to those depths. And then the higher the degree of the cone angle, the lower the frequency. It's probably best for shallow water. But for right now, we'll leave it at, I don't know. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's kind of, but you got to understand, if you're in shallow water, you wouldn't want a narrow cone angle because you're, like, for every 1 foot of depth, for every 3 feet of depth, you're going to have like 1 foot of surface area, right? Somewhere around that number. Whereas if you're on a higher degree angle, every 1 foot of depth, you're going to have 1 foot of surface area. Your zoom, I never do this. You can do a split zoom, and it's because bass are usually going to relate to the covering structure on the ground, and you'll see the box in here is what's being zoomed in. But like, it's really rare that you pick up bass in 5 feet of water suspending, 5 to 8 feet, 10 feet of water suspended. It does happen, but it's rare. And also too, at 10 feet, if you're at, I don't know, let's say you're at a lower frequency or higher frequency and smaller cone angle, at 10 feet, like that cone angle might, at the base of it, like at 10 feet, it might only be 3 feet of surface area. So the chance that your cone angle is going to run over a fish is small. But we'll go back. Oh shoot, I always do this. We'll turn that zoom off, no zoom. You have your overlay numbers. You'll see right here. Here are your overlay numbers. You can have a bunch on there. You can have your compass, which I actually kind of like having your compass. It's up top. It tells you which way you're going, which I think is actually pretty cool. I don't think you need your voltage. You definitely need your depth. Speed depends if you're on a boat or not. If you're on a kayak, you really don't need your speed. Water temperature, that's, you probably want that. Time of day, you don't need. You have a clock. So my thinking behind this is that you want all the screen space to read your imaging. We'll go to sonar setup. You have a depth line, which you can show, which is weird, right? Like, you can, like, say you want to like figure out what that depth is. You can put your line down there, but I don't know. I just think that's kind of silly. And you can find that that line is 18.1 feet deep. I'm going to hide that for now. Scroll speed is going to be how fast your imaging moves across your screen. If you're in a kayak, you probably, I mean, I guess it's all kind of personal preference, right? Like, if you're ice fishing, you definitely don't need it very fast at all. But if you're in a boat moving, you want it as fast as possible to keep up with the movement of your boat. And, you know, beyond that, I think it's really just personal preference. We'll go to appearance. You change your color scheme. They have a bunch of different colors. That's all personal preference. You have an edge, which is really weird. Like, it sets up an edge. I think that's the edge of your cone angle. Like, anything beyond this point is like past your, like, outside of your cone angle, I guess. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm going to turn that off. Your amplitude scope. This is for ice fishing. Basically, in my opinion, it's for ice fishing, but it's a real-time reading of what you're going through. Again, I think that's for ice fishing. I think there are very few applications that this would be helpful for. Turn that amplitude scope off. And then you have fish symbols. If you turn it on, it's so silly. This is so stupid. I would not recommend using these at all. It's really weird. It gets rid of all the clutter for you, which is, I would not rely on these. I would not rely on these at all. Like, learn how to read Sonar. I'm going to turn that off. And then you have a couple different noise. This is your interference and surface noise. Your surface noise, if we hide it, there's no noise up here. And then if we show it, well, you get a little bit of noise up here. But, you know, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's personal preference. It's not 5 feet of water. If, you know, no one's, it's really rare that you're looking for fish in this. Like if you're fishing 20 feet, like the first 5 feet of water, it's really rare that you'd find bass in there. So I'm going to hide that. And then interference is going to be, if we turn it off, it's just clutter in this, you know, in your on your imaging. I would keep it. I think I usually keep it somewhere on like low. Actually, I want that off. Interference. Yeah, I usually keep it on low. But again, that's kind of like personal preference. You got to learn how to use the sonar. You got to learn how to compare if your boat's moving, you want to kind of compare what you're looking at to your down scan. And then if you're in a kayak, you got to get used to seeing what moving fish look like. And I don't know what TVG is. I mean, I have no idea what it is, so I can't help you there. That is your sonar. Let's go to your down scan. Range, again, is going to be your depth. You can do auto or you can manually set it. I've already gone over that. I usually leave it on auto range. Your brightness, I usually leave it on auto. It's all personal preference, but when you're down scan, you want to be looking for little specks of rice. But like the down scan is nice because you can tell here that that's most likely not a bass. That's going to be just part of the plant. You want to look for like little grains of rice or like sharp, crisp, white little circles. Like maybe in through here, I don't know how well you can see that, but maybe in through there's some bass. Like right here, you can tell that's not a bass. That's part of a plant. And it's all really personal preference. I think you definitely don't want it too dark. So you probably somewhere in that 94, 95 range. But I usually just leave it on auto. Your contrast, again, and there's no auto option for this, which is kind of crazy. I just don't think you want it too low. Again, that's going to be personal preference. You're looking for little specks of white, or they look like grains of rice. Those are going to be your bass. But it's nice to pick up the structure to see what you're looking at. Like that, I would probably still even fish that structure right there, because you might have bass hanging out there that aren't being picked up in your sonar down scan. Zoom, again, you have your split zoom, which I just think, I don't really use it. I don't think it's very practical. What is going on? We're going to do no zoom. Oh yeah, I'm getting confused. Sorry here. So your zoom, you have your overlay numbers, which I've gone over. Sonar setup, you got your scroll speed, your color scheme. Again, that's going to be all personal preference. And you have noise reject again here on your down scan, but I think it's going to be personal preference. I would probably leave a little bit of it on, maybe keep it on low for both. Let's look at your sonar and down scan screen. We're going to select that. Now this brings it up. Okay. Don't hit up or down, because if you do, it puts it in manual mode, manual range mode, which I don't like. And to fix that, you'd have to go into your sonar settings, go up to your range, go to auto range, and then go back. Okay, so you don't want to hit up or down. But let's say you want to fish an area like you like that. You can hit the left or right button. It brings up cursor, and then you just have to hit the the check mark. And because I'm in demo mode, it's not letting me do it, but it'll save it as a waypoint. Then you can go back to your fishing. And this white line is just because it changed from when it was frozen, when I was setting the waypoint, back to real time. So that's how you're going to set a waypoint. If you want, so because each box, if you want to go to your Sonar settings, you want to be in your Sonar screen. So you'd hit the check mark. And then you can go to, you can play around with your settings from there. Or you can go into your downscan settings again from there. And then you can configure if you want it vertical or horizontal. I prefer vertical. I don't like horizontal because there's not enough screen. So we're gonna configure. We're gonna put that to horizontal. If you can resize your combination, like if you want a bigger downscan, you can do that, or you can, if you want a bigger sonar, you can do that. All right, but I would just leave it. And then, so like again, let's plot a waypoint. You're gonna hit your check mark, it'll set it. You get out of there, you go back, then you can go to your Quickdraw map. You're in your Quickdraw. If you want to start your contours, you can. You have to start recording and stop recording. Once you start it, you can leave the screen, it'll keep going. And then when you want to stop, you can go back into the screen and stop your recording. Let's see what settings there are. Yeah, it's nothing really important in here. You go to your waypoints. If you want to pick a waypoint that you have and you want to, like, so you'll see your waypoint, what number it is here. Go to your settings, go to waypoints. You can pick it, and then you're going to navigate to it, and you can go to it, right? And it'll tell you when you're there. Now, because I'm in demo mode, I can't show you the, it doesn't show any contours, but when you're out on the water, we'll do it on the fly. It'll make them right away, and it'll save to the unit. And then if you're on a kayak, you're probably going to run your map and your sonar. Because I don't think downscans, I don't kayak that much, but I know my boat's moving really slow. Like downscan's kind of ineffective. It's not really that helpful. What's helpful is your sonar, because you'll actually you'll see trails when the fish are moving. So if you're in a kayak, you probably want this setting. And that's really it. I mean, there's nothing, these settings, there's really nothing in here that are important to catching fish anyways. But that's it. That's the video. I hope it helped. I think this is a really cool unit. I hope my tutorial sort of got you familiar with the settings and set you up, configured you so that you can start catching bass quickly. Thank you. Again, if you're new to the channel, I'd love to have you as a sub. Also, check the links for if you want to own this, or for an Amazon link if you want to own it, or if you want to see the review on the water. Thank you.